when I was doing a community health worker training today, I was
Yeah.
talking about it like being on a tandem bike.
Mhm.
When you're in the front and in control of the wheel, like you are hyper focused on the path, the trail.
Mhm.
Literally, you're not seeing the rest of the world going on around you. But
Yeah.
that person in the back just pedaling, boy, they're getting to see for miles. They
Mhm.
have this other perspective and they can share with you like what is possible. What is
Interesting. Yeah.
around the bend, what danger there might be, but also what opportunities you may not be able to see when you're in survival mode, just looking at today and what's right in front of you.
Hey guys, welcome to the Salem Business Journal podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Pione, and with me I have my friend, DJ Vincent. How you doing, DJ?
Yeah, it's been a great day. Love the fall weather.
Yeah, no, it's been a nice day out. And I've liked how it's been so hot for like most of the year, and it's just now to the point where like it's sunny, but it's also like kind of colder, you know?
It's coffee weather. I was born to live in the Northwest. I start each day with about 2 cups.
2 cups of coffee.
Oh, yeah.
That's wild. I just got into coffee, like for the first time in my life. I just woke up one day and I was like, you know what? I need to grow up and decided just to drink a cup of black coffee. So
Well, I would say just if you're drinking the right coffee, you don't need anything in it.
that's fair. You know, that's fair. It's kind of like meat,
There you
you
go.
know? Yeah.
Just a little salt and pepper.
So, DJ, you are the founder and the CEO of Church at the Park.
Yeah, Church at the Park just celebrated 18 years this summer.
18 years?
Yeah, and it
Wow.
all started with one potluck meal in Cascade Gateway Park, looking to just center relationships and help people to their next right thing.
Wow. That's crazy that it's 18 years old. It seems like, when did I first hear about it? What was it when you started it versus what is it now? Like, how's that morph been? Because I guess I heard about it somewhere in between, but I'm curious, and I think people probably are curious about, like, what the heck is the Church at the Park anyway? And what was it originally and what is it now?
Yeah, there is a group of people that started 18 years ago thinking, what does it mean to share a meal, build
Mm-hmm.
a relationship, really get to know who these folks are that are unsheltered in our community. We learned a lot about why people were living in the park, why
Mm-hmm.
they were living out of their vehicles. We started hearing, asking the question, why are you not already in a shelter? Why are you not in housing? We started hearing a lot about, well, I don't want to be separated from my partner. I am not
Mm-hmm.
willing to give up my pets. And, if I have a vehicle, like I have possessions and, no one's helping me just kind of get to my job and get a shower if I actually still have a vehicle. So we started seeing some of these gaps in where we were trying to connect people to services.
Mm-hmm.
And so, honestly, the first 10 years of our work was training volunteers, mainly from other churches, to build a relationship with folks and help them with what we started to call like their GPA. So, what are their goals and how can we make them really, achievable and
Mm-hmm.
small? P, what are the pathways that would actually help them achieve those goals? And then A was always keep their agency as a priority. Like they need to do the work themselves so
Mm-hmm.
that they feel that sense of dignity and that accomplishment. We never want to do things for people,
Mm-hmm.
and we also don't want to do things to people.
Mm-hmm.
At the most, we want to come alongside and do things with people.
Yeah, I think I really agree with that approach. I mean, that's one thing that, like when I was on the school board, I think that's one of the biggest takeaways I got from my service there, right? Was, there's a saying, if you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. If you teach a man a fish, you feed him for a lifetime, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times people refer to, a lot more people like on the left, like people giving the fish, right? Or the people on the right, the ones teaching him how to fish. But what's interesting is like, okay, but you can't teach the guy to fish, right? If he doesn't have a fishing pole,
Good.
you got to know where to fish. So we can
Good.
teach him the knowledge.
Yep.
You also got to have a fishing license. That's probably
Ooh,
important.
there you go. What
You
are
know, you don't
what are
wanna get
the
in trouble.
rules that need to be followed? That's what
Yeah.
navigation looks like. Oh, I understand the print culture,
Yes.
the social services. I know how to help you find this pathway, help
Yeah.
you navigate your healthcare, your income, how
Yeah.
to make housing more available.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. You also need like fishing line, bait,
There you
you know,
go.
those sorts of things. And so I think that that approach makes a lot of sense. But it's just, you know, how do we do it and how much do we do? I guess kind of becomes the
Yeah,
question.
and when you honor the other person's agency, their strengths, you're
Mhm.
in that position of realizing like they have a lot to bring to this process and to this relationship. A lot of the work that we started to see getting done
Mhm.
was by the unsheltered folks themselves. We opened a food bank completely run by people who were still unsheltered.
Mhm.
We expanded to a clothing closet that, again, was run all by the folks who needed the services.
Interesting. So it was ran by, so a lot of like the food stuff and the shelters were also being ran by the people who were receiving services as
Yeah,
well.
and the fancy name for that is peer-based work.
Mhm.
So the people who have the lived experience do the work, and that is still how Church of the Park operates today. We
Yeah.
have over 100 employees working at 5 shelters and supported housing work, and the reality is over 50% of those have been homeless themselves.
I think that's really cool. Well, because one thing is like, I don't know if you knew this about me, but I was homeless for a decent chunk of my life, and it sucked.
Hmm.
And so I think that like connection, your ability to connect with someone who's been there and done that, I think goes a long way. As someone who's like kind of been there, it's kind of like, I think it's really cool that you're giving them the chance, right? Because they're people too. They're just as capable. Well, I mean, people have different capabilities, but
Very good.
I would say that, you know, a lot of those people could be people just like you and me. You know,
That's
like,
right.
you know, they could run for school board. They could, you know, own a business. They could do stuff. They're just, in this time of their life, they're homeless.
That's
But
right.
that's not always going to be the case. And so,
Yeah, the phrase we use is people only act within the world that they see.
yes.
So
Yeah.
when they have someone who's been homeless themselves doing the casework,
Mhm.
helping get the services, they have this imagination. Well, that can be me. That
Yes.
person's no better than I am. I can
Mhm.
get that job.
Yeah. Well, and not just that, but I like what you said about people operate in the world that they see, because I often refer to, I read this in a book. I think it was Rich Dad Poor Dad. I think it was a book by Robert Kiyosaki for sure. But he had this. He referred to Alice in Wonderland. Have you seen Alice in Wonderland?
Yes.
Have
Every version.
Have you seen the Through the Looking Glass?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know when she's looking at the mirror, right? And then that weird caterpillar bug thingy
Yeah, oh,
flies
yeah.
through the mirror.
Yeah.
So she's looking at the mirror and she sees the world as it is around her, which is the way that we operate, right? And just like when you're homeless, and that's like when a lot of people say, "Well, what was it like? Or what was the difference?" I refer to this analogy because it's the only way I can make sense of it. That makes sense because in my world at the time, you interact with the world as you see it.
Good.
And so when you're looking into the mirror, you see the world around you as it is currently. You can't see beyond that. You just don't unless you put your face through the mirror.
There we
Right?
go.
But that's a scary thing, right?
Yeah.
Because how do you know that's not a real mirror? And if that's a real mirror, you're gonna get a bloody face, you know?
Good.
And so it's really scary to put your face through a mirror like that. Like you're taking a huge jump. You know, sometimes unless you see a weird butterfly thing fly through it, it's like you don't know if you're gonna bust your face on this mirror, or maybe, just maybe, if you put your face through this mirror, there's a whole world waiting for you on the other side.
Beautiful. I love it. When I was doing a community health worker training today, I was
Yeah.
talking about it like being on a tandem bike.
Mhm.
When you're in the front and in control of the wheel, like you are hyper focused on the path, the trail.
Mhm.
Literally, you're not seeing the rest of the world going on around you. But
Yeah.
that person in the back just pedaling, boy, they're getting to see for miles. They
Mhm.
have this other perspective, and they can share with you like what is possible. What is
Interesting. Yeah.
around the bend, what danger there might be, but also what opportunities you may not be able to see when you're in survival mode, just looking at today and what's right in front of you.
Yeah, I like that. Well, it's kind of like Rockefeller said, most people work too much to learn how to make money.
Ooh, beautiful.
And in the same sense, right? It's like, yeah, if you're on your tunnel vision of how do I need to eat tonight, I
Yep.
need shelter. Like I remember, I would sleep in an elevator. I'm like, because I'm not trying to get stabbed by a needle or
Yeah, you're
knife.
focused on your own safety with
Yeah,
80% of your energy.
yeah, and without shelter, that takes a lot of time
Yeah,
and a lot of mental focus.
good.
And it's really cool that you provide them the opportunity to work as well. And I think that's something that a lot of places don't do. So that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, I take the view that everybody is doing the best they can, trying to do their part.
Mhm.
Obviously, we want to be entrusted with our community's resources to help people actually transform, actually heal, actually, become amazing members of our neighborhoods. And like you say, giving back to local business, not just, needing from the community, but actually
Yes.
being contributors in the community.
Well, how do you feel? Because Church in the Park has grown, it seems like, from 17 years ago to where you said you have how many employees now?
Over 100.
Mhm.
And again, it has been a slow journey with some big growth spurts.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time has been outreach.
Mhm.
Then we added to that this need that we were hearing, like, I have a vehicle, I'm working, maybe it's just part-time, but I get ticketed and I get asked to move all the time. And I'm using all my resources just to move my vehicle around,
Mhm.
and I don't have a place to take showers. So we started this safe parking program in partnership with 10 other churches where we were serving as the day center for them to get case management that with help, a place with food resources, a place
Mhm.
with showers, but then they would park overnight at these other churches. So they had a welcoming, safe place to be. Many times the churches had other relational training resources that the folks would also benefit from.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so that was kind of phase 2.
Mhm.
Then we were invited into, providing winter emergency shelter. So
Mhm.
that's how we started getting experience and understanding.
And those are
on-
those little tiny homes.
Yeah.
Correct.
That wasn't the first step, but that is what we're known for right now.
Mhm.
Is we have 5 unique locations where people can be in shelter in what we call a non-congregant way. So it's not like a big room with a
Mhm.
bunch of beds, because one of the things we realize can kind of erode trust is when people feel like you're not providing a safe space. So if we start with you're in a safe relationship, I am for your good, I'm only going to do things that try to help you, then I want you to be in a space that is safe. Like you
Yes.
talked about being in the elevator, we give people a room with their own locked door so that they can know I can take care of my physical safety.
Yeah.
Then I can move from my survival brain
Mhm.
into, my problem-solving brain and start thinking about the future, start thinking
Totally.
about my health, start thinking about how am I going to pay for things. So that next step in our journey was these non-congregant tiny houses.
Yep.
And again, we didn't figure it out all on our own. We have been to, 5 different shelter providers, Eugene, we've gone to Texas, we've been to a lot of the Portland providers looking for what is working and what is not working.
Mhm.
And we realize, again, people need to feel seen so they know they're in a safe relationship. Then they need to be safe. And then we need to provide supports that matter to them. And we're back to that GPA thing. We need somebody doing goal setting with them,
Yeah.
somebody helping them with pathways that are actually going to help them reintegrate into the community.
Well, how's that been working?
Well, from our perspective, we are meeting and exceeding our own goals that we're setting. We're saying, at least 50% of the folks we work with in a given year, we want to see them stabilized in housing. And that we have been able to do the past 4 years.
What percentage?
Over 50%.
Over 50% of the people that you guys see
that we shelter.
that you shelter.
So we have 3 outreach teams that
Now,
go out.
do your shelters count as stable shelter in that metric?
Yes. So I'm saying from shelter to housing.
To actual housing.
Right. So each night.
How does that work? Because, okay, so I'm sorry. I'm just,
this is great.
I want to dig a little bit on that.
Yeah.
Because right from the community's perspective,
right,
it seems like things are just out of hand.
Well, that's because more people are becoming homeless all the time.
Yeah. So let's talk about that a little bit, right?
Okay.
So about 50% of the people that you guys are sheltering are getting into stable housing within how many years?
Within our average for families is 6 months and individuals is 9 months. So to go by the numbers, I'm going to go with big numbers rather than like and one.
Yep.
So 300 beds a night.
Mm-hmm.
And each of the last 3 years, we've sheltered over 700 people. So every bed serves more than one person in a year because we're not night by night. People, have expectations. This is something we can get into. We're low barrier for entry, but then people have responsibilities and they're held accountable to be working a plan to stay with us, and they get recertified every month. And so the average time we need with a family to get stabilized into housing is 6 months. Okay. The average time with an individual is closer to 9 months where we launch them off. And so...
And why is that? Is it just because typically the families are more motivated to
to
do it, or like they're kind of prioritized on the list because
it's a both and, right?
Okay,
there are more resources. We're getting a lot of help from more community partners and Department of Human Services with those families. And again, you really actually have a lot going in your life if you still have your kids with you and you're unsheltered. Like, you do probably have a job. You are moving in the right direction, where over 50% of the folks who are adults that we serve are over 55 years of age. They're basically
over
seniors.
55.
So I always
over half of them.
Yes, I'm excited to share this with you. I just shared it for OPB because the numbers are intense, and I gave like 3 different testimonies to the legislature this last year. We partnered 9 times with a documentary called "No Place to Grow Old" because the numbers across the country of seniors becoming homeless, they're the highest rate in our state. The highest rate of people becoming homeless are seniors. And the reality is, in the last 4 years, we served over 400 people who were over 55. But then just last year, 2024, we served over 300 people in that 55 plus. So it is going up faster than most people realize. Like, we need to be hitting the alarm bells.
Well, because right now we have a huge, quickly growing aging population right now.
Right.
So it's going to just get worse.
The population is aging. Their income is fixed, but all their expenses are going up, and they can't handle it. And they're becoming homeless.
Okay.
And so the numbers are going up.
Yeah.
And so the community is saying, we're putting all this money into these service providers, and the service providers are crying like, we're doing the best we can and we're getting outcomes. But when the people are still flooding into the system, we can't look successful on the outside.
Yeah, because if you what you're saying is true, right? If you're able to get over 50% of the people who you're servicing into stable housing within less than a year, I mean, honestly, those are very good outcomes.
That's what
to
we
be honest.
think.
To be honest with you,
we're wanting to celebrate
because let's just say we were able to cut the pipeline down. Let's just say we were able to turn the faucet down a little bit in the beginning, right? To where it's consistent. Even if we just make it consistent, right? We just make it a consistent faucet instead of a growing faucet. Let's just pretend that. Or like, I'm not even giving you a best case. I'm just saying we just stop the chaos. We just get it to where it's consistent, straight. If you're getting 50% of people out, then over time we're going to be able to, like, that gives us the room to figure out how to do that. Yeah. And so then I guess the question becomes, what happens at the beginning of this? Like if this was like a sales funnel, right? That's an
Yeah.
easier way to look at it, because like you take it from things from the beginning to the end of the problem.
Yeah.
So upstream of
Good.
your guys' problem of this problem coming down the river is other problems like housing, jobs.
Number one, the affordability of housing.
Yes.
Number two, are people skilled and equipped to do the jobs that are available? Three, our mental health system is currently broken.
Oh,
so
I want to talk about that for a second
too. We're passing some legislation that will help us with civil commit for folks who need to be stabilized to get the medications they need. But right now, those folks are some of the hardest for us to serve with interventions. If they have a mental health crisis and they're not getting the medications and the services they need, because we don't provide medications, we have to connect them.
Let's just talk about that right now, because I
want to go back to one thing first in terms of I love talking upstream and policy practice. Let's make it better. I want to recognize I'm in the chair of another person with more opinions. What I have expertise in is I can tell you what our intervention does and doesn't do. I can tell you where it works and where it doesn't work. And I keep making this argument that, again, the intervention isn't the problem. Our intervention, like you said, is effective enough. 50% within the year is a pretty good rate
that seems like a very good
that
rate.
We're helping. And so don't blame the intervention for the upstream policy challenges that we do need to talk about, that we do need to make better. But it isn't me as Church of the Park service provider who's actually responsible for people becoming homeless.
Well, because you can't. I mean, you're not the one jacking up housing prices and making it so people.
Not last time I checked.
Last time I checked. Come on, man. In Oregon specifically, just so you know, when I went to Willamette University, and during lunch, I would often go down to Subway back when there was a Subway downtown, and I'd go get a foot long, and I'd go find a homeless friend and sit down with them, and we'd eat lunch together, and I'd talk to them, right? Yeah. And a lot of the people that I'd run into are from other states. And or from other states. Some of them, a couple are from here, but a lot of them were from over there. What would we call it? Transit.
Right. People use
transient. Is it called transient?
People use the term transient, and it doesn't have to be pejorative.
What does transient mean?
It means that they're traveling.
Yes, that's what I thought it meant. I just didn't want to say a derogatory term if I didn't mean
about
to.
Someone, moving through or into our community. So the experiences people have are real, that people ask, like, where are you from? And not every person says that they went to South Salem High School or, Central or Sublimity. But every one of the actual data studies and surveys that we've done say that it's 80% of the people,
are
grew up here.
See,
they have a service connection of I went to school here, or I have a job here, or I have family here, where it isn't like they just came to this community to take advantage of it.
Yeah. What percentage of it do you think that is that? And I want to preface this in one, because I know what you're talking about how the stats show most homeless folk are local.
Correct.
Or they're from the community. Yeah. And because it's hard to move around when you don't have the resources to do that.
You don't have any support.
But I guess my question is, because this is a thought amongst, I think, regular folk everywhere, of Oregon we're trying, I would say, harder than most states to deal with this issue.
Especially,
would you agree or
trying
no?
to be innovative. Trying to say, if something isn't working, let's try something different.
Yes.
Let's lean into what people are asking for.
Yeah. And so because I see us as a state making a lot more effort than a lot of other states in this terms. Do you think that is what is attracting, let's just say, that extra 20% of homeless people, if that's what the data shows, that it's 20%? Do you think that's what's attracting them here, or do you think that's just kind of everywhere?
I think that what you're saying is very reasonable. Mm-hmm. That Church at the Park wants to care for people in ways that are incredibly compassionate. We want to be really effective at
Yes.
getting people, work experience, at getting them housed. So would it be reasonable to say that, some people share with their friends or relatives, like, this is the place that is really going to help you?
Yeah.
Yes, that's possible, but I just want to make sure we're putting the conversation in perspective that how are we going to turn our backs on the 80% of people who
Because of the 20.
because of the 20?
Yeah.
And is it not the case that if you do have the best intervention,
Mm-hmm.
the best plan, that again is not just enabling people, but it is teaching people to fish. It is
Mhm.
not just giving out fish.
Yeah.
So you maybe in Polk County, we're not allowed to serve the 20%. We have made a good neighbor agreement that the folks we serve there have to have a tie to Polk County because there is enough for us to do in serving the 80%.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do I want that 20% served because they're
How do you-
human beings?
How do you know the difference between the 80 and the 20?
You literally just ask them a series of questions like, can you, verify for me that you went to school here?
Do they tell the truth? Do people lie? I would assume that they would lie, right?
Well, again, lying isn't going to get you very far down the road of success. Like lying to get into one thing isn't going to help you lie your way to real resources that does all the work and the background checks and a job. And so lying is only going to get you so far.
Oh, so if there's a rule to where you can't help people who are out of a community,
right?
Then like
eventually,
you might get through. You might get through the
barrier.
front door,
Yeah,
sure.
but
then the extra resources when we're actually doing background checks to help you with a job, or we're actually doing this, and then we find out you're not from the community at all. Then it's like, okay, well now we can't help you. So
now.
So in Polk County, that's what you have to do. So
that
like
is right.
if they hit one of those other filters,
right,
so to speak, then you guys have to be like, well, we did say in the beginning you have to be from the community in order for us to help you, and you're not. So
correct. So now you've hit these barriers.
Okay, that makes sense. And so I mean, I guess it's maybe possible for people to slip through, but the percentage that could, I guess, would probably be pretty slim.
Correct.
Okay, that makes sense. But we don't have that in Marion County.
That's correct. Again, this is a view that some have, and I am willing to work with those who want to work with me on like their terms. So that's what Polk County was asking. And even though I think every person who is in a spirit of readiness to make their life better, to get their life in order, to get a job, to, get into housing, that person moves from needing assistance to giving assistance to others. Mm-hmm. So I want every person to make that transition regardless of where they were born.
I see what you mean. Yeah. From the community perspective, I was just trying to understand the difference between those and how that would work. But I do see what you mean. I mean, but that's kind of an ideology and values thing,
right.
which is, are we going to value and put solely our community first and be protective over that?
Right.
Or are we going to, what was the story in the Bible about that? What was the story in the Bible about that?
Well, there's quite a few. Whether we want to talk about the Good Samaritan.
The Good Samaritan. That's the one I was thinking of.
Each of the religious leaders are more worried about how, if they help the Samaritan, how is it going to affect them? The person on the side of the road, what the Samaritan, the foreigner, thought is, if I don't help, what will happen to the person on the road? Mm-hmm. They're the person thinking outwardly. They're the person thinking about another person's well-being, not just their own interest.
Yeah.
And as a person of faith and as leading a faith-based effort, I have to hold myself accountable to the values of the way of Jesus, not just the values of a certain ideology. But we at Church of the Park are willing to work with others on, their terms.
Yes, which totally makes sense.
If an agency wants to serve a certain type of person, we will connect that type of person with them.
Mm-hmm.
Polk County said, we're inviting you to serve over here, but you have to follow these guidelines. And we
Mm-hmm.
said, well, we want to serve people, and so we'll respect your guidelines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, because also, you got to follow the rules of the land, and that's something
Correct.
that is important.
Yeah.
Well, that's really cool. Well, and how does the because it's church in the park, but you're not just in a park anymore.
Yeah, that's right. But what we like about the name is it reminds us who is the center, the person-centered focus of our work. Even as we get the opportunity to do workforce development and have jobs, and we get to connect people to housing, we have to remember, are there still people living in parks?
Yeah.
Then our mission isn't done. Again, we don't want people to be living in parks because we feel like that's not as good as our community can do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a safe place to live.
Yeah.
And so we want to say yes to coming alongside those folks for better.
Yeah. I was curious about the name because honestly, when I first heard Church in the Park, I thought it was just like a sermon service. And then when I actually learned what it was, I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. But then as it kept growing, I was like, I wonder if they're ever going to change the name. Just because.
We'll never say never, but right now it still so connects to our vision and values of never stop seeing the person who is the most vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
So our mission can't drift away from how are we going to help the next person off the sidewalk and out of a park into safety, into support, and into housing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that's good. Well, let's commit to, because right now I think there's enough to talk about at the end of the river than the beginning.
Okay.
So next conversation we have, I'd love to dive deep into the beginning of the river, if you're cool with that.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think that we got enough things, because I have a million questions for you already.
All right.
For the downside of the river. So then we can be a little bit more focused on that.
Okay.
So the housing now, because I'm trying to get a better picture of the Church of the Park.
Okay.
And how it works, how the gears turn.
Okay.
So you're not just in parks.
Not just in parks.
Yeah, but you also have shelters kind of all over. Right now you said you have 5 locations.
Yes.
Correct. Where are they?
So our first and original location, we call it the Village of Hope. It's for adults. It's on Center Street. It's a block away from here. Then we have a family shelter on Portland Road. We serve about 40 families at a time. And what people often don't know about Church of the Park is, again, it's made up of mainly serving those who are elderly and those who are children. We have about 70 children we're supporting tonight. Then
about 70 children.
70 children.
Dang.
Who, again, we're honored by what we get to do to create safe space. But I can't imagine those 40 families not having a safe place for their kids tonight. And then we have on Turner Road, we have a special shelter just for 18 to 24-year-olds because we feel like they're aging out of foster care. Some are coming to us out of parole and probation. But the reality is, like, we need to have a specific focus on connecting them with education and opportunities that's a little different than the adults at Village of Hope and the family focus. Then in Polk County, in Dallas, we have a family-focused shelter there that's only families. Again, you have to have a kid. And then in Monmouth is our 20 capacity for adults. And again, we immediately filled it with the most vulnerable older adults. And yet our goal for each person is we would support you in stabilizing your health, then your income, and then we want to launch you into housing. And again, our hope is that we do that in less than a year.
Wow, that's crazy. Okay, so let's kind of walk through the process kind of slowly.
Slow it down.
The first thing that came into my mind, right, when you're talking about families and helping the elderly and helping kids, right?
Yes.
My number one concern that pops in my brain is safety.
Good.
Right? Because for me,
Agreed.
Right, when I was homeless, I never felt safe. In fact, I used to be able to go weeks without sleeping. I think I went 2 weeks without sleeping one time. And that's something that stuck. Like even like when I was in college, it happened a couple times.
Yeah.
Like whenever I'd get my brain hit survival mode,
Yeah.
like I won't be able to sleep.
Yep.
I won't be able to eat. I just have to like focus. I've gotten a lot better as I've gotten older, but it was something when I was younger I really struggled with.
Yeah.
And so just the safety aspect, I think, plays such a vital role. What has happened? How do you keep, like, some of the biggest things that come to my mind? Like, what about, like, like sexual assaults or just
Good.
regular assaults,
Good.
or because like these are housing units, right?
Yeah.
Like, and so how are we keeping people safe?
Love
And
it.
especially like the women and the kids who are
Good.
just staying in the shelter.
Good. So, you're asking the right question, because it's like, oh my goodness, how can there be a family shelter for 40 families and you say that this is going to be a place where families and kids are going to be safe?
Yeah.
So, number one, it's a defined space,
Mhm.
and everyone who's there is either a guest who has signed all of our basically community commitments about respect and safety,
Yeah.
or they know what those expectations are, and we follow up immediately if there's any broken expectations. Then two, we have staff on site 24 hours a day. So unlike a traditional housing apartment complex, like, you've got someone there at reception checking in who's there and who's not, and staff on site, who again are not just warm bodies. They're trained in nonviolent communication, de-escalation.
Yeah.
We have staff on all the time who are state certified security folks.
What does all the time mean? 24/7?
24/7.
Separate from the person running the show?
Yes.
How many people are on staff at any given moment, typically?
On a site, our minimum staffing is 2 people.
Okay. And then how many shelters are there?
There's 5.
5?
Right.
Oh, sorry. I meant how many units per shelter?
How many units?
Roughly,
So,
yeah.
So at the family site, there's, space for 40 households. Some of the families are bigger. And so, sometimes we need to give them 2 units. There's 45 unique little shelters there. Then we have digital accountability. So on that family site, there's about 50 cameras. Nobody's just sitting in front of the cameras, but if a guest makes a report or a staff person thinks that something is happening, it gets notated and then reviewed and then followed up on. And so again, I find cameras to be a deterrent to bad behavior, because it's like, I'm not going to get away with anything.
And have you found that that's pretty effective?
Oh, incredibly. Yeah. I mean, the reality is, do you want to lean in on anything else in terms of, like, safety is one of our number one, like, concerns, priorities. Like, we have to set.
Have you seen like crime or
an
thefts
environment of
and, like,
safety? That's the thing you hear a lot from people experiencing homelessness on the streets or in the parks, that it's just like a constant fear of like, I can't go to this appointment because everything I have will be stolen. I have to constantly pay attention to protecting my stuff. That is a huge priority for us, that our sites are safe. And there's literally, like, just eliminate that drama. People have their own locked door, their stuff is secured, and there's cameras everywhere, and the stealing of stuff is just deterred, and it's not an issue.
Yeah. I remember that was a huge stressor. I used to have I had a duffel bag that had like all of my belongings in it. And one day I put it down. I forgot what I put it down for. I think I was going inside to grab food or something. And I set it down for like a second. And I turned around and the whole thing was gone.
Right.
All of my belongings that I owned
Right.
were just gone in like a second.
Right.
And so, that's a very stressful thing.
And,
when
and
you're
so
in that situation.
essentially that's just not going to happen on our site, because if that duffel bag got set down and another guest took it, they would make a complaint. We would know exactly who it was. We would get the stuff back. We'd ask that person to leave, and they don't want that. Most things are done with the intent to get away with it. If you know you're not going to get away with it, it's just, preventative.
I see. Yeah. That totally makes sense. Now let's go into kind of the beginning of this process.
Good.
So I'm just, I'm 17-year-old Jesse.
Okay.
And, I was in Portland at the time.
Okay.
You're a homeless kid.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. Should we roll with a family or
you
adult?
need to be 18 in terms of like what
happens with underage
we don't
people?
serve unaccompanied minors. Our
Oh.
partners at Community Action, they are the ones who are supporting those folks. We support, again, families that are still connected to their kids. And then we support 18-year-olds at the young adult site who are their own adult decision maker.
Okay, so you only deal with adults.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Community Action deals with the kiddos.
That's right.
Are there other people that deal with kiddos?
I mean, they're our lead agency in that area.
Okay. That's actually another story that we're working on, is doing one. I noticed this at the downtown meeting the other day, where someone was talking about, I forgot what it was. And then the director of UGM was there, and he was like, well, just so you know, this is what we do, which we're not here to solve homelessness. We're just here to do this.
Yeah.
And so it got me thinking. I was like, well, maybe I should help differentiate these for people.
Good.
And which also will help me, because
everybody's doing their particular part.
Yeah.
Nobody thinks that they can just do everything for every person.
Well, except for people who aren't involved. They think we can solve homelessness. That's typically what I'll hear. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's a very interesting thing to learn about too. So what are the big homeless organizations in town? Sorry, I want to go into the program, but we're going on a side quest here.
Very good. So we get the opportunity to serve about 300 people each night. And then we have outreach and safe parking, Union Gospel Mission.
Yes.
With their men's and women's outreaches.
Yes.
My understanding is they're close to 300, if not more than that.
So you guys serve how many total?
300.
You guys serve about 300.
Right.
They serve about 300.
Right.
So that's about 600 people total.
Then Community Action, they're just like, you can keep it in round numbers. They serve about 300 folks. So between those three groups, that's 900 folks supported each night, not on sidewalks, not in parks. So everything you're seeing in parks and sidewalks is up and above those people, 900 being supported.
Crazy.
Our bed count for Marion and Polk County is 1,200. So then there's a lot of other providers. Seed of Faith has beds that they support. United Way with Safe Sleep has beds. In Silverton, Sheltering Silverton is doing great work. Also in Polk County, there's Gales Lodge that supports veterans.
Do you feel like there's a lot of overlap here?
No.
Again,
you still see people on sidewalks and in parks. The homeless count, if we went out, gathered the community to go interview folks who aren't sheltered, you would find close to another 1,000 people just on our own waiting list.
How do we know?
From the point in time count. There is a homeless information management system that is unduplicated, real individuals with birthdays, who are seeking services in our community.
Yes. And when was this done, the point in time count?
It gets done every January, but then we continue to put in new, unique individuals. Yeah. So the point in time count is a good measure as we know it's not less than this.
Let's break that down what this is, because that's something I get asked quite often. It's well, how do we know? Because we just throw out there's X amount of homeless people here.
Good.
Well, how do you know there's that many homeless people there? And so let's break down what is the point in time count? How is it done?
Good.
How does this how do we collect this data?
So the federal government requires this 1 day in time in January count across the nation from shelters who are receiving any services or required to say how many people are in shelter beds. And then the community goes out and does an unsheltered, not in sheltered, count and interview process. And a person has to, have enough accurate data points to then qualify as one of those numbers we publish in the community that says this was a real person who was out in a park, living in their car, saying they don't have a home, out on the sidewalk. And we know if you study that data, like it's asking how long a person has been
homeless for.
homeless for.
So how do we know that we're getting them all? Like, how do we know where to
Oh,
go?
we're not getting them all.
Yeah.
That's like, that is what's
That's
what's
just what we're
accurate is that
finding.
is a real number.
I see. So what we're doing,
It's not inflated.
Yeah. And so, well, if anything, it's under.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
If anything, it's under,
Yeah.
which I think that there's a lot of integrity going to the community with that number.
Yeah.
Because it's like, this is in the middle of January. It's not like sunny times
Yes.
in July, and we just got friends of people who are unsheltered. Like, this is a cold time of year. We can go with confidence to the community and saying it's no less than this number of people.
Yeah. Well, because the unsheltered folks, and I
Right.
remember talking to some people about this when I was first learning about it, is like we go to places that we know homeless people gather.
Correct.
Because, like the police and like other service providers have a decent idea of, hey, there's a good chunk here, there's a big chunk here, there's a big chunk here. But we're probably not getting quite a few of them. Like some of the ones that are kind of off the grid, or the ones that are scattered here and there in like weird spots that you wouldn't really go to. So when they're doing the unsheltered count on that one day, they're going to the big communities that we kind of know are here.
Right.
So this number is actually probably pretty, it's not like way under, but it's probably quite a bit off from the below what the actual number is.
Correct.
And then even then, if I didn't know the second part, when you were saying that they have to hit a certain number of data points before they'll get counted.
Absolutely.
How many people do you think don't hit those data points? Do they ever?
Oh,
do they have that number?
I could come back to you with that report of like the number of entries that were discarded as not enough information.
That would be an interesting story to write on. Like, how do we count the homeless? Like, how do we count the homeless population? In fact, I'll do it right around the time when we do the on point one.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, because then we can release it to folks and let them know, hey, here's what's going on.
Good.
And here's how we know this data is good.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That was a good side quest.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go back to Church at the Park.
Yes.
Sorry for taking us on that.
You're great.
We're down the rabbit hole. So I'm entering, like I'm, a homeless person. How do I even find out about Church at the Park? First of all, do I just hear it from other homeless people? Like, what's your marketing strategy?
Sometimes there's 3 ways we connect with most people. Again, we have an outreach team still committed to building relationship and connection for folks who are on sidewalks and in parks. They're out there 5 days a week. Again, building trust, coming back again and again, because sometimes people, in terms of the stages of change, I just taught on this today, in the stages of change, sometimes people are not ready to take the leap to change their situation, to say yes to a new, unknown adventure. They need it explained to them. They need to build trust with the person talking to them. They need friends who have been through the experience to tell them it's safe and good, and they're actually going to help you. So,
well, can we stop on that just for a second? Because a lot of people probably don't realize how big that alone is. Because at least for me, right, and this is something at first I felt super ashamed of myself for. Then I learned it's super common amongst people who have been homeless, especially youth. Was, when I first got adopted, right, this family took me in who had no need to take me in. They just saw more in me than I did.
Amazing.
And I sat there for a minute, and all of a sudden I was like, I need to run. I was like, I need to get out of here.
Yeah. I
was like, something's gonna go wrong, and you have a need, I guess, for like, if the world's gonna burn, I'd rather be the one doing it. There's the sense of control around you, I guess. I don't know what it is, to be honest. I just wasn't. And so at first, and then I left. I dipped, even though I had a place, and by the way, these are my parents now. So they are
amazing,
nothing but loving and sweet to me. And I love them to death. And they're my family. But at the time I was like, I need to go. And so I've seen that so often, amongst the homeless population, or kids in the foster system.
And that's why it's so important for community health providers to actually study the stages of change. And when people get in a stable spot, they often relapse to the place they were. But the hopeful part is there's the spiral of relapse that's spiraling up.
What does that mean?
So when you think you're going back to the start, but
Yeah.
actually you have this new experience, you're going back into kind of the middle of the cycle. And then you're back into contemplation, and you're back into new actions, and you're back into a new commitment, and you might relapse again. But then each time you're building wisdom that it's like, I can make the change faster. I can trust more.
Yeah.
I can jump back in. Like, I've been there before. I know I can be successful.
Yeah, I see what you mean. So like, while they might jump back into homeless, like for me, right? I ended up being homeless again.
Right.
But then I had a little something in me that I was
Good.
like, I had like something in me that I knew I could get back out again.
I love it.
And so I see what you mean, because I think even from me being like homeless the second time was very different than the first time.
Yes.
Because then like I had a very low self-esteem, very low self-worth, but I did know I was intelligent. That was the one thing I knew.
There we go.
And so I guess I see what you mean, because from my personal experience, as well as seeing others, even if they do go back or they do relapse, even if it's like a drug situation, typically like, they might go back into drugs, but like they're slightly better than they were the first time. And whether or not that's good, I guess, is another question, but it's also, I see where you're coming from with that.
But we try to coach our folks on this from the beginning, both those with lived experience and those without lived experience, that it's like, that's why we want to be compassion and second chance focused, because each of those opportunities, they're actually getting more hopeful. They're getting stronger. They're getting resilient.
Yeah.
No one's kicked out forever. Like, we want people to come back and try again.
How often do you have that happen?
Often. Yeah. The reality is, if you want to have real expectations, real responsibility, then people don't trust that unless you are willing to remove people. And when you break the rules,
I see what you mean. Yeah.
You need to leave.
So you do enforce the rules. So like when someone does hit it. Right?
Absolutely. That's how you build real trust, by doing what you say you're going to do.
Yeah. Oh, I completely agree with you on that. And that's one thing that, I think we don't see as often in today's world. I think between, like, today's world's a little soft, what I mean? Like,
and we're not out there even as Church of the Park celebrating.
Yeah.
We needed to exit 5 people this week because they didn't follow the rules.
Yeah.
We don't post that on Facebook.
Well, you just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which makes sense.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that's good. And I think even if they're kind of, my thought on this, right, is let's just say they're relapsing, and that sucks. And like, do I want taxpayer money going towards people just going back to doing drugs? No, because that sounds horrible.
Right.
But if within 6 to 9 months, 50% of the people are getting housing, the end result is we're only doing that for 6 to 9 months, and then they're into stable housing.
That's right.
And so, I mean, really, like, your things are getting funded by public dollars or by people donating. And yes, these people, they're not perfect. They're broken people.
That's
just
right.
like most of us are broken. But these people they're going through a lot more.
A lot of trauma, a lot of terrible experiences.
Oh, for sure. And that's not something that you can just throw money at and poof, it's gone. It takes work and time. And the time, it sounds like, is 6 to 9 months.
Correct.
How many people, once they get into the stable housing, get out of stable housing again and become homeless?
So that number is not that large because of the commitment and the community partners around. When people, especially folks who get vouchers, who've been on this recent, housing push, they have case managers kind of checking in with them, doing what we call aftercare.
Mm-hmm.
Like with our young adults, we keep checking in for 6 months on like, okay, how's it going with that job? Again, we know they're young adults. So it's like they're going to go through a lot of different jobs. And it's like, okay, are you paying your bills? And like, how's it going being in this new place? And trying to be there still with them. It's all on them, but we're checking in.
I see. Well, is there very good data on that?
not as good as it needs to be.
How do you
So,
think we could solve that? Because I mean, that's one thing, right? That if I'm looking at, community people like come at us and be like, oh, what is this program even effective?
yep,
Then the number of 50% of people are that we service
good,
are off the shoots in 6 to 9 months. That's a damn good number,
right.
right? But then what we would have to look at is, okay, well, now once we get them to the service,
Yes,
how are we stopping that from becoming back to the beginning of the river?
that's right.
So to speak.
And our investment is that first 6 months, but we do need to have, love and invite those bigger conversations of let's keep tracking those folks who get that government assistance or that voucher,
Mhm.
and let's report with honesty back to the community, like how long they're stable.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that would be a very interesting stuff too. Very interesting data to look at. And not just that, but look at, okay, well, are there interventions? Because it's kind of like when people get out of prison, right? The incarceration rate's super high because the second you get out, it's like, well, see ya. And then it's
Right.
like,
That's
what
why
do I do?
reentry initiatives are so important, right?
Yeah. Do you see a lot of reentry? Because if you have data on people in the beginning, well, that's okay. What's your reentry?
In terms of, we are working with Marion County on folks who are coming out
Yeah.
of jail.
Oh,
or
sorry. I meant people that are
who we've housed and then they
in
come
the past.
back. So again, I want to lean into, it is something we're tracking, but our data is only 4 years old. So it's like,
I
oh,
see.
it's a tiny number. But I want to tell you sitting right here, like it's only 4 years old. Like it's
Yeah.
not like super old data.
Gotcha. So because you guys, why has it only been tracked for 4 years?
Because that's when we started getting significant funds to
Yes.
have 24-hour
to be able to track it.
staffing, to have staff
I see.
continue to follow people.
Yep.
Our data management systems as a community, this commitment to let's be transparent with our community that every person is going to be
Mhm.
in the HMIS system, and we're going to have, like, we're going to tell you these are real people we're serving.
Mhm.
These are the services they're getting, and this is how successful they are.
Mhm. Is
that whole process,
Mhm.
was launched just before the pandemic. Like,
Yep.
I think the system
remember
is
that,
only 6
actually.
or 7 years old.
Yeah, I remember that system, and that's transferable between
Every agency,
UGM, you guys,
Community Action
RJ.
Agency,
Yeah.
everybody is entering that, people in that system.
Yeah, and that helps us all as a community be able to track the data,
Right. And tell the
and
truth
service
to
people better.
ourselves, right?
Yeah. It would, and then also we're not having to spend extra money.
Everybody has their own systems. Like every little provider
Yeah,
has their own little data system.
which is just so inefficient, and we'd
Correct.
be wasting so much money
Correct.
as like a community towards
Agreed.
everyone doing their own stuff as opposed to let's all just share the same
Right.
data systems.
And I do want to name
So
that,
what is that percentage? Like I will take it with a grain of salt, right? So if any of you get mad about this,
no,
but
I
like,
want to come back to you with it. Like, I'm not,
okay.
I want it to be like something I can stand on, over and over again. Like, what the data
is it pretty low?
It's low. I'm saying, like, we don't see.
I don't know how
a lot
low
of
is
people.
though, DJ.
I know.
So what can we just preface it? It's 4 years old.
It's
And
4 years old.
You're like, it's not a real number yet, but here's
Right.
just what it says.
I mean, it's less than 10%. Like, we're not
That's
just
crazy.
like serving the same people over and over again, because again, we prioritize people based on their vulnerability.
Yeah.
So how old they are. And I'm telling you, like, again, like for 3 years, we served about 155 plus people in our own data systems. And then last year, there's 300 of them popping up asking for services.
Mm-hmm.
And so the reality is, like, we know exactly who's asking for services, how old they are. We know exactly who's in our beds tonight,
Yeah.
how old they are, all their demographics. So, this is real data. And so then I can tell you, if I ask our data folks to analyze it and get me a percentage, like in 4 years, how many people did we like get a voucher,
Mm-hmm.
but now they're back with us?
Yeah.
And the number is tiny.
Can you also see if originally they were with you, but then next go around, they're with a different service provider?
So that's where the Homeless Alliance does have the power to analyze that data. I don't get to go around just like looking at everybody's data just because I'm interested.
Oh, so
as
you
a single
can't.
service provider.
I see what you mean. Do they have that?
Yeah.
Do they talk? Have they talked about it?
There was a whole meeting dedicated to data analysis at one of the board meetings this year. Yeah.
Before next time, we'll get it, and then we can talk about it.
They even invited the community partners, like, come, we're gonna, be transparent about our numbers and what sense we're making of it.
Well, I think there's been kind of a lack of interest, and because of the homeless alliance. Let's just roll on that for a second.
Okay.
Because I was a part of it for a long time, and then I was asked to step up and help with the youth committee.
Excellent.
And I did. And then I was asked to lead the DEI committee within the Homeless Alliance, and I did. And that was fun because I got to do it in a way that's not like woke. I got to do it in a way of like, and what I told my team, I was like, well, our whole goal is to make sure that like in our journey of doing good, we're not accidentally hurting a bunch of people.
Excellent.
That was the whole goal of the DEI committee, and I think we did a pretty good job of being there. But I think there was I think the sentiment, at least that I got, that I know other people in the community also feel, is what I was talking to you about before we started. There's so many committees, and there's too many, and it's just like at least my thought on it is this. I would be interested. Push back on me if you think I'm wrong. If we took the same brain power of the people in these rooms, like, right, because a lot of people in the committee are like heavy hitters, like they're very intelligent people or people who have done really great things. And if we took their same brain power, and instead of sitting here talking about something and then talking about it, if we took that same brain power and just put it towards building one apartment complex a year, and we could fight over if it's apartment complexes or houses, I don't really care. I'm talking about units of housing for people to live in.
Excellent.
Right? And maybe we can go into depth about this.
Yeah,
because our next one's up the river, I guess. But this is just me ranting about committees. If we spent the same brain power towards just making housing affordable, just regular housing, not affordable housing, not this housing, not that housing, just regular old housing, and just increase the supply to decrease the price. What do you thought of that?
I think that in a good way, the people who have the most power and the most influence to move the needle, that is what they're obsessed about. Whether they're in the state legislature, and I went to all the housing meetings on the Senate and House side this last session. I was over there 2 days a week. And they're obsessed about, getting more housing stock, and they're getting reports on it, and they're looking to make policy that will try to encourage local folks to build. And then from what I understand...
Who's they? I'm very curious
who they
is.
And again, you're going to find I have an incredible level of hope and positivity that I assume the best intent of the people we elect, that they want to do good.
I would agree with that.
For the people, for their constituents.
Yeah.
And more housing is good for everybody. It's good for the poor, and it's good for the rich. Like, people want to develop more affordable housing.
Mm-hmm.
And so...
Why do you think our state makes it so dang hard to do it then?
I do think that there's unneeded barriers, and yet we're not going to be able to get rid of the barriers unless people are identifying them, articulating them clearly, and passing policy that will knock them down.
I mean, that's 100% accurate. It just seems like the willingness to do it isn't there. Like, everyone says that they want to do it until it comes to the actual policy. And then they're like, well, that one's supposed to be for safety. That one's supposed to be for the environment. And it's like, well, yes, obviously I love, I'm like a native, taking care of the earth is like our thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's some of these that are just, they don't actually do that. They're just, it's just like how, like windmills, right, are supposed to be good for the environment, but really they're horrible for the environment, and they're not even good at producing energy. So it's like,
I'm not an expert in those.
Oh, well, fair enough. Well, it's like sometimes some of these things were done originally with like the intention of helping, but then the actual byproduct of it isn't actually helpful. Does that make sense?
I can see the point, but I think what would be also fair in the discussion is, let's look at the number of housing units in Marion County. And Marion County is outperforming its colleagues up north in
Yeah.
Portland. It's outperforming a lot of areas in the state. Our region has brought a ton of state and federal investment dollars into this community
Yes.
to build affordable housing because the will that you're talking about from local leaders, investors, developers is here.
Yep.
People want to make Salem better, and because of that, it is getting better.
That is 100% true. And that is one thing that I've really loved about our community, especially because I think we're just in the beginning of seeing the fruit of the labor.
I love it.
It's like when you see like around springtime, and you start to see the blossoms before
Yeah.
they turn into apples.
Yeah.
And I think like I think we're starting to see that.
And that's why I want to encourage people not to believe a false story about somewhere else, because it's like Salem is building more affordable housing.
Yeah, we 100%
Salem
are.
is intervening on
Yes.
homelessness, and the groups doing it are being effective. The reality is it's not fast work. The reality is you still see problems.
Yes.
There isn't enough housing, but that doesn't mean actually that we're not turning the flywheel in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with you on that. I think sometimes though we could just get too, at least my thought on a lot of those committees is it's just a lot of people who like to hear themselves talk.
Oh, I've been there.
Or they're running for an office and they want to look fancy for that office. And I don't know, I guess I get super annoyed by people like that. I'm just not a fan. It's like, that might be really what it is. I just get sit there and I'm like, you don't actually, like, and then you see their actions in real life. You're like, you don't actually care. And, I don't know. I guess I get super frustrated by that. And I think a lot of people feel that though at the same time, because a lot of people will see all this money getting thrown at homelessness. They just see, the Homeless Alliance saying, hey, we're going to collect all this data. And they're like, well, is that data even being used? Because we don't hear about it being used.
Right.
And then, and then they hear about, all this money, more grants, or donations towards like Torch at the Park or towards these other homeless shelters. And then they say like, well, homelessness is just getting worse. What is going on here?
We feel a huge level of responsibility to the community to communicate constantly. That's why I say yes to every small group that asks me. I say yes to every little podcast. We post on data like every week. We push out a newsletter all the time. We say, ask about our finances, ask about the data. We will provide it because we are accountable to the community.
Yeah. How are your finances?
Well, we just received a 20% cut in, the amount we got from the state in the last contract to this contract. But we let people know we needed to cut positions. We needed to look for every area to reduce, and we're going to keep getting after the work. We still have 80% of the dollars and the responsibility to keep providing shelter and keep doing our work.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I guess the other question would go towards, on that same note, the same vein, and we're going into the beginning of the river next time.
All right.
But I guess before we go today, maybe a great question to ask would be, I know you said that you don't serve the beginning, right? But who is serving the beginning?
Excellent. Those are the folks you're electing at every level, federal, state, county, city. They're setting the policy, the practice for your tax dollars to, say what basic services are available for healthcare, for mental health care. We can't just take care of healthcare as individuals. We need to lean in on our community and hold the people we elect accountable for that healthcare. Now, when it comes to jobs, that's where we need a strong business community, and we need, collaboration, and we need people creating jobs for our local area. And so, you need that to be healthy. When it comes to housing, it's a public-private partnership. So that's where I want to bring together, like, you don't just need the government to take care of it. You don't just need private business to take care of it. That we have this need for collaboration.
Yes. No, I totally agree with you on that. And I think, even as I was talking, I was like, well, people feel like they're not hearing this. But it's also, that's one thing I've been working on, right? Because I've only owned the SBJ for about 2 years now. And I bought out my business partner in January. So I've been making a ton of changes. And, one of the things that I'm really committed to is the whole reason I got into the business is because I wanted to make the community a better place and to be able to fight for issues and have hard conversations about stuff in a way without me being in office.
Yeah.
That was my goal.
Great.
I was like, how can I do that in a way and make our community better? And, I was just thinking as we were talking, I was like, well, and also like, I'm also, need to be committed to, making sure that I'm aware of what's going on so that I can tell that story better and communicate with the public as well. So just so
yeah,
this is an olive branch to you for things that you guys need communicated, to the public. I'm not going to, run around writing fluff pieces.
Very good.
But like when you have stuff that's informative and is genuinely better, good for the community to know, those are good things for us to talk about or me to write a story on or
excellent
anything like that. So just,
thank you so much.
That. Yeah, of course. I mean, and also just because like most of my readership, are typically, business owners, business professionals, and people who, these are typically people who are involved. They're typically people who vote. They're typically people who are, either running businesses or they're thinking forward thinking.
Yep.
And those are great people to have informed about, what we're trying to get done as a community.
Just want to, say that Church at the Park believes like we need a healthy relationship with every, area of business. We need a healthy relationship with the neighbors that our services are operating in. We need to, just like we believe that the key to our relationship with serving the unsheltered is trust.
Yeah.
Like build the relationship through doing what you say you're going to do. And, the neighborhood needs to feel like we can get a hold of Church at the Park. They're responsive. They're doing what they promised they would do in our neighborhood. Just like the business community feeling like, we're contributing, we're paying taxes. These folks are getting public funds. They need to be listening to us. We need to be responsive. We need to be in dialogue. We need to know that they're doing what they say they're going to do. And so we want to build that trust by, being a real partner that can have these real conversations.
Yeah. No, I think that's super important. And I think the more that you can do that, the better. And if there's any way that I can help out, or my team can.
We're doing it today.
Yeah. Just so you know, we're going to come on next time and talk about, the beginning of the river.
I love it.
Because today was kind of more focused on this with a little rant or two about that.
Let's go.
Who else do you think, is there anyone else you think should be in on this conversation?
Again, my colleagues, whether it's colleagues at Union Gospel Mission, Craig Smith, the new director, whether if you haven't had Jimmy Jones on with Community Action Agency, he loves to talk about the upriver challenges, both historical, current, federal, state, local. And then I would encourage you to talk to, some of our smaller providers, whether it's the good folks at Seed of Faith or Safe Sleep and the work that United Way is doing.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, I guess we'll do some brainstorming before next time.
Excellent.
See what we have. And one more thing before we go. So did you see, I've started at the Salem Business Journal started a campaign on something that I think will benefit the community in the long run, because while we have issues of homelessness, we have issues of crime, we have issues of housing, we have issues of this, we have issues of that, we have issues of this, we have issues of that, and all of those things are more important than art and music, logistically. Also, they're not going to get solved for a while if we're being realistic.
There we go.
And we can't just not do anything until we solve those things.
Excellent.
And so one of the things that I've recently I've been working on this for about 6 months to a year now of we're just formulating the idea of how could this work? And one of the things that so I'm calling it I would like to make Salem known as the city of music and murals.
Beautiful.
Did you see the article?
I think I didn't read it start to finish, but I saw
Okay.
the headline.
Okay. So the goal of this, when you look at the past of our country or our state or a community, the times when our country has done well is when we were united behind a vision and we're united behind a cause. And these causes are typically war. That's the biggest and quickest, easiest one to point at. But there's other times too. There's times such as public projects like the highway system, the national parks. There is new technologies coming out. So AI is a great example of right now that's uniting a lot of people. Or there is automobiles, or there was flight or space, right?
Excellent.
And so those are or disaster. That's the other one. Something bad happens and we unite around, fighting that bad guy or solving this disaster, right? So those are the 4 times that we come together. And so in each of those times we come together strong. And a lot of good comes out of those times typically. And so what I was thinking was, is it possible for us to be able to manufacture that? Can we just decide? Can we just choose to be better? Instead of waiting, we don't have to go to war. Right? We can't go to war as a city. That'd be crazy. We don't have to wait for a disaster. We don't have to wait for something bad to happen. We don't have to do that. We can just choose, hey, we would like to be better people nowadays. And if we can just choose to be better people, then okay, well, what cause can we get behind that can unite the left and the right together and benefits everybody? It's a win-win-win.
Excellent.
And will make Salem cool.
There we go.
If we're being completely honest, right? If I'm taking a date out, it's not usually in Salem. Usually the cool concerts are in Portland or Eugene or Redmond or Bend. And if I'm willing to drive to Redmond and Bend for a concert, then that really means there's nothing going on.
That's right.
Here.
We need to get a better, marketing person here for the riverfront.
Yeah. I mean, that's another conversation. But yeah, no, totally. And I think that one of the things that I think that could help make Salem really unique and benefit us in the long run is going to be becoming known for something. And I heard it recently at an event where, some folks who are like leaders in the community refer to Salem as the gateway to Oregon. And we've heard this for years.
Okay.
Like anytime I've been talked to almost any big investor, everyone's like, oh, Salem's always great because we're an hour away from the mountains. We're an hour away from the beach. We're an hour away from Portland. Right? That's the pitch.
Excellent. Yep.
That's the pitch we've always heard.
We're an hour away.
That just means we suck, right? That means.
But I like you reframe that like with the metaphor of we're a gateway.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, sure. But
not quite. Okay.
That's like in real estate where we're like, this house is charming. I'm like, that just means it's a small house. Like,
sure.
You know what I'm talking about? Like, or what else do we use in real estate? It's like opportunity. That just means this house needs a lot of repairs is what that means. And so, yes, being the gateway, you can be the gateway, sure. There's trade cities. But at the same time, it's like nobody wants to be in the place that's just a transient place. That makes what it makes it sound like. You know what I mean? For so long, we go to other places to have fun or to have a good time, which supplies their economies, not ours.
It does. Yeah, you're right.
And having a good economy will help our school system.
Good.
It'll help funding any public service that we have.
Good.
At least in my eyes, I view that like a strong economy is, I think, kind of the engine that will help with solving homelessness, crime, and you name it.
Good.
And just bring people into the city. And what's crazy is Salem, we are on I-5 and Highway 22. The two most populous, I have no facts back up is Highway 22 more populous than the one up north? Is it 99?
You could say it's as populous.
I would say it's just about.
Yeah.
We haven't fact checked that.
We need fact check.
People are coming after us.
That's right.
But it is an extremely trafficked highway.
Plenty, yeah.
Right? And anyone going to the coast is forced to drive through Salem. You don't have a choice. You're going through downtown whether you like it or not.
Good.
And imagine if as they're driving through downtown, they see a giant sign off the side of I-5 and Highway 22 says Salem, the city of murals and music. They're like, huh. And anybody who drives by, they start seeing it on social media.
Good.
These pictures of, first our alleyway. I think that's the easiest one to do first.
Excellent.
But then so many of these giant buildings downtown, when you're driving up and down just the highway area, you can see these giant blank walls. Like, how cool would that be if that became a canvas?
I love it.
Which then it gets a lot of our local artists paid.
Good.
First of all, a real paid gig with local artists. And secondly, it makes our city much more beautiful.
Agreed.
We'll have more traffic downtown,
I love it.
and more traffic will help with crime. It'll help with like a lot of homeless issues because like you don't want to be sleeping right next to a place where someone's paying and working.
Good.
And a lot of people will stop by to take selfies or to just go visit it or walk through our alleyway to view the art. There was some research that I was looking at that shows people spend about $38 per person typically when they stop in a town.
Excellent.
Right? So you can have some real numbers
Yeah.
of people will be spending dollars downtown. And
Good.
imagine that over the course of an entire year. That'll increase our parking fees, right? They're already going way up.
They're already going up.
Yeah. Well, the income, sorry, from the
Yeah.
parking fees. We'll go way
Maybe
up.
both and.
Oh, gosh. Hope not. It will. It always does. But yeah, so that's kind of like the vision and thought behind the murals part. And then the music is what will make Salem like cool. You know, the murals are like a giant billboard and it'll be beautiful to see. But us locals, we'll go see it once or twice. And then we'll be like, okay, we see it every day.
It'll fade into the background.
We'll see it. We see it every day.
Yeah.
We can change them as we go. I'm totally down for that. That's what Boise does. So I kind of
excellent.
modeled it originally after Freak Alley in Boise.
Okay.
And they have Freak Alley and they changed the murals as time goes on.
Excellent.
Yeah. And so I think in the long run, that's going to be the move.
Okay.
Because that'll keep it interesting and new and fresh all
Yep.
the time. But for now, let's just do it once and make it cool, make it really nice. And then we'll work on the systems afterwards once people can see that it works.
Good.
But then what's going to keep people here and what's going to keep us locals more happy and I think do a lot of good also is the music aspect.
Yeah.
So here's my pitch. 3 music artists, 3 nights a week. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, downtown. And we kind of stagger them. So then it's, you know, they play 2 hours, 2 hours, 2 hours. So it starts at 5, ends at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Starts at 5, ends at 11. And then different genres each time. So then if you would like to take your wife out on a date or you want to take your kids out or something, you can go get lunch. You're like, you know what? Let's go to the next one. And then you can go to the next venue,
Yeah.
you know? And what we do, and here's how we'll pay for this, is we could have, you know, in order to get it moving and ensure that it's going to happen, we can have it funded either publicly or public-privately, whatever, subsidized about half the cost, some sort of fund. And then the other half gets paid by the bar or the venue. Right. So then like they have some skin in the game.
Okay.
But then also, you know, the public is like us as a community saying, hey, we want this to be funded. It's not super cheap. Basically, we'd be spending, let's just say we spent $200 per one. Right. So the public spends $200, bar match is $200. That's
Okay.
$400 for 2 hours. $200 an hour isn't too bad for a gig of somebody to go play a guitar. You know what I mean? And so let's just say that's what it is. Right. And maybe maybe more, maybe less. I don't know. We'll figure it out as the community talks about it. But if we spend just the $200, right, that's $600 a night times 3, $1,800 a week. We'd be spending $1,800 a week to become the coolest freaking city in Oregon. Because we'd become known as the place where local artists can make a name for themselves. How cool would that be? If like we're walking downtown, DJ, and like down near Taproot, we hear live blues music, right? We go up a little bit, we hear like live country or like live rock, you know, and then we go a little bit further, kind of near Cozy. And I don't think Cozy would have hip hop, but you know, they'd probably be more of what would Cozy have? If they had
Maybe
music?
jazz.
Jazz, yeah. We could hear like live jazz, or we
There
could
you
hear
go.
hip hop, you know, over
Yeah.
near Side Hustle or something,
Very good.
you know? And so like imagine, you know, hearing that and like knowing every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you don't even need to make plans.
There you go.
We know it's going to happen. And so I just think that would be a really cool thing for our community. Now, some of the pushback I've received was people saying, well, we have these other bigger issues. Like we can't focus on this because we have all these issues.
Oh,
Wait.
you got to do both.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You think so?
But yeah. And again, I'm a person who found myself, you know, 2 different times buying tickets and going over to Bend to
Yeah.
Hayden Homes Amphitheater. Like, why am I not hearing about all these shows that I just have to get tickets for at Jerry Frank's Amphitheater
Yeah.
right down here? And what I also hear you saying is like, different folks from different backgrounds, they want different types of music and different
Yes.
types of comedians. And why can't we, you know, encourage downtown to be thriving, both encourage those who are the business owners, but then encourage the rest of the community to come out and support.
Yeah, Yep, I think so too. And I think, I mean, that could be paid for a number of ways. And I don't know exactly how I would pay for it. But I think, DJ, if we do this right, like, because if like the SBJ, I take a hard stance of, well, we're going to push for it.
There you go.
And we, find some partners and we host, for the meetings about it. I think it would be a great example because when we talk about homeless stuff, the stakes are high, right? One side, like these are people's lives.
Yep.
And on the other side, it's their wallets. And
Excellent.
I think, and both are really important because it's not
really
just their
important.
wallets. People say it's their wallets, but really what it actually is, it's feeding my family.
Their livelihood.
Yes.
It's better to understand it that way.
Yes. Than their wallet.
It removes the judgment.
Yes, completely. So it's like people's livelihood and their ability to have a roof over their head.
Yep.
And then like people's lives. And so the stakes are very high. So when we debate things like that, it's really hard to be civil. Same with education, right? On one side, it's someone's kid.
Right.
Like their child that they have raised, and on the other side, it's someone else's kid. So like the stakes are very high there. Good. And so I think that like with every issue, with a lot of the issues we're struggling with are safety, right? There's like issues of, people being worried about, like racism or being profiled.
Yep.
And the other side, like someone's like, I'm just trying to do my job.
Exactly.
And there's so many, the stakes are always so high with these topics. Whereas with this topic, the stakes aren't that high. And so it could be a very good opportunity for us to show like other people in our community or like for people to come in and practice civil discourse and do it in a way that's healthy. And because we can have a debate about whether or not like, do we raise beep parking for a couple hours to help pay for this? And people will have strong opinions about that.
Sure.
Or do we raise the funds publicly through like a nonprofit and do we fund it that way? Good. People have strong feelings about that, Yeah. And so.
But part of what I love about what you're saying is, again, we can only act within the world we can see, back to where we started, is we want to have conversations about a community that is thriving. We want to have conversations about the type of community we want to live in a beautiful way, not just always focusing all our committees and all of our time and energy on the problems.
Yes.
We need the both and. We don't need to ignore or turn away from our problems, but we also need to talk about the beauty we want to create in our community.
Yeah, and it's kind of like you were saying with the tandem bike, right? Because like if you're so focused on just like going,
there we go.
What if the person on the back has the map and says, "Hey, we're trying to go over there."
Good.
And we came full circle.
Full circle. I love it,
man. But yeah, well, I'm glad that you also feel that way because that was my feeling.
I'll be there for it, man.
Yeah, and
I'll come to those meetings too.
Well, good. Well, thank you, and I appreciate it. I hope you bring ideas and bring people.
Yeah,
because that was something that I was worried that I was like, maybe they're right. Maybe we can't do both.
Oh, we can.
Oh, yeah, we can.
We need to.
Yeah, we can. Well, thanks for coming. Is there anything else you want to cover while we're here? Anything that you think we missed?
No, I think we're good for this time. I'm looking forward to coming back.
Okay, yes. And the next time, let's for sure cover the beginning upstream of where you are. Good. Because, and I just want to, let's clarify one more time at the end of it. So Church of the Park isn't focused on the upstream.
That's right.
You guys don't handle the upstream at all. What you guys are focused on is the downstream of, okay, once people get here to this homeless spot.
Yes.
And they are homeless, how do we get them off the street in a way that's where they can stay off the street?
That's right.
Is that accurate?
We are unabashedly an intervention. Bad things have happened. There has been trauma already. There have been upstream challenges, and we are the people getting the baby out of the river.
Yes.
And we know the upstream work needs to be done, but we're not willing to let people drown in the river. We're going to pull them out, and to go back to your other metaphor, we're not just going to sit there on the bank and feed them fish.
Yes.
We're going to get them out of the river and teach them how to fish.
Yeah.
What do you need to do to stabilize your health care, your income, your housing?
Yeah, teach them how, like, where to go to fish. Like, here's where you can get some resources. Here, where you can go this. Yep. Maybe give them some bait, give them a tie, give them some shoes.
That's right.
On their feet. That's really cool. And I guess one other question on this before we take off. So you guys don't service upriver. You only service the downriver. And you help people come from homeless off the street in a way to where they can hopefully stay off.
Good.
We'll work on the back end data of that later.
Good.
And I guess some people might ask, well, why aren't you working on the upriver?
Well, I am going to my legislators and talking a lot about affordable housing,
Yes.
even shallow rent subsidies
Yes.
for seniors.
I don't know
So
what that
we
means.
don't need
We will
to
delve into that next time.
So we don't
Yeah.
need to serve so many seniors. I am passionate and have spent 20 years of my life in the education system, and think we need to focus on third grade reading and after school programs and every kid having a mentor. And so I'm passionate about upstream. I just want to tell you, Church at the Park lives in the crisis
Yes.
of what is real.
Yep.
And we're working with real people that we have hope for every one of them, that they are a person worth caring for, worth investing in, and they're going to be people who give back to our community, not just take.
Yep, for sure. So just to clarify what you're saying, I like to be fully on it. You personally care a lot about the upstream, and you personally are doing stuff that you can as DJ, the human being, to go work on that. But Church at the Park has a scope.
We have a scope. We have to recognize our mission.
A set mission, a set scope, and you can't stray from that scope.
That's right.
And so it sticks within that scope.
Correct.
To do that mission.
Because even the housing we do, I understand the housing we have, we call it Coral House for 28 women. It's for women who've been homeless. We're building cottages for seniors who've been homeless. We're in a partnership with Catholic Community Services called Compass Points to help with apartments for families who've been homeless.
Okay. Well, fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, I figure if there's any holes or things that we miss, people will point it out and we can cover it next time.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming on, DJ.
Yeah.
I appreciate
to be
it.
with you today.
Oh, yeah, of course. Hey, guys, thank you so much for listening to the Salem Business Journal podcast. Again, I'm Jesse Pione, and I want to thank our sponsors. Thank you to Compass Visuals and Collier Law for making this possible. Thanks, guys.